Hello! This is story time in the treehouse, and I have the most wonderful treat for you today. You know that I'm Miss Diane. Well, I found another Miss Diane, and she is the most wonderful storyteller you will ever hear. She is a very special friend of mine, and she's going to share a fun St. Patrick's Day story. And when I walked in her house today, I could see so many books around me and so many leprechaun things. Even her mailbox was decorated green. So she is the most fun lady ever. So here is the other Miss Diane.
Oh.
There she is.
Hi, boys and girls. I am so happy to be with you today. And I think that storytelling is probably my very favorite thing to do. Swimming might be second, but I love to tell stories. I would give anything to see all your little faces. And maybe one day we'll come out and be open and do this. But anyway, I have lived here in River Heights in this old house. My home is 106 years old, and I have lived here for 54 years. And I have known your friend, Miss Diane, since she was a little tiny girl, just little. So, Diane, do you want to sit on that chair, honey? Will you be a little more comfortable?
And you can see all the books that she has collected. Look at all of those.
Well, those aren't so much children's books as they are adult books.
Those are big books, aren't they?
Yes, and so they might be a little bit dusty because I read the children's books. But today I want to read to you Jamie O'Rourke and the Pooka. Now I got to tell you what a Pooka is. A Pooka is an imaginary animal, and this is a wonderful story. You're going to really like this. Story about Jamie. So here's Jamie, and he's asleep. He takes a lot of naps, and his wife Eileen's trying to wake him up. She says, "I got something to tell you. You're the laziest man in all of Ireland." And she says, "I'm going to be going to my sister Catherine's. She has a new baby." And he kind of dozed off again, and she had to wake him up again. She said, "Listen, here's made you a whole bunch of food and put it in the larder so you won't be hungry. But," she said, "there is something that I need you to do for me." So there's the food all in the larder, ready for him to eat. "I just ask that you clean up the kitchen at night. You know, wash up the dishes, just wipe off the counter," and off she goes. He gives her a kiss goodbye, and Eileen goes down the rock. You know why there's so many rock fences? Because there's so many rocks in Ireland. So, hey, all of that commotion made him tired as a farmer plowing 5 fields. He says, "I better have a lie down." That's a good idea. So he does. He goes in and lies down, and the dog and the cat lie down on top of him. And pretty soon, there's a knock at his door. And it says, Jamie O'Rourke." 3 voices called out, "Where are you, man? We heard Eileen's off to visit her sister." So he goes to the door, and who do you think there is? His 3 favorite old cronies, and that's friends. So there's Patrick and Michael and Seamus. And they says, "Come on in, lads." And so they come in, and his one friend has bought some brand new apple cider. And he says, "Oh, let me get the mugs and we'll have a nice drink of that." So they do. They come sit down at the table, and then, Jamie gets them out some food. Looks like they're eating all of that food, doesn't it? But you know, the dogs have some and the cat has some, and they have such a good time. Sausages and chicken and ham, and oh my goodness, those boys are going to get so stuffed. You know, when you eat too much, you get stuffed. I do. Well, the three friends said to Jamie, we're going to be heading down the hill, and you'll be wanting to get your rest for tomorrow. You'll be having a busy day in the morning cleaning up this mess. Oh, to be the truth of you, says Jamie, it's fine. I'm not worried. But they knew he was the laziest man in Ireland. Well, Jamie laid down, and just as he was about to nod off, he heard a knock at the door. And he thought, whoa, who's that? And then he heard it again. And he couldn't tell if it was a man or a donkey. And he thought, saints preserve. So he thought, maybe I better get up and check on this. And pretty soon then the door opened and the donkey said, I may as well begin first to last. And you see, he's a Pooka. This donkey is a Pooka. A Pooka is an imaginary animal. But anyway, he stirred the fire, poured some water in the big pot, put it on to get it hot so he could wash up the dishes and mugs and cutlery. And he put it over the leftovers in the proper dishes and back in the larder and swept the floor and gave the fire a good raking. And then the Pooka left the house with such a slam of the door, Jamie nearly fell out of bed. Well, he just couldn't believe it. All that work that Pooka did. And the next day, here comes, you guessed it, Jamie O'Rourke's friends again, Patrick, Michael, and Seamus. And they brought another jug of fresh apple cider. I bet they got that from Zollinger's up the road. Well, how did all this happen, they said. Well, me lads, Jamie said, I got up with the birds and I cleaned it all up just like any good husband would do when his wife's away. But Patrick, Michael, and Seamus, they kind of looked at each other. They didn't really believe Jamie. But there they were, having a good time again, just like they had the day before, eating the food and drinking and telling stories and laughing. When the friends had gone, leaving even more of a mess. Oh, it was so messy. Jamie climbed into bed, but instead of falling asleep, he waited under the covers. And sure enough, the door opened, and in comes the Pooka. Now, I don't know about you, but I kind of think he looks like he's got a mad look on his face. I would be if I had to do the dishes 2 times in a row. And so there he was, cleaning everything up just like he'd done before. The dishes, sweeping the floor, cleaning out the fire. And as luck would have it, he went right out the door. And Jamie thought, well, if this creature comes every night, I can have my friends come over and we can have a good time, and then the Pooka will come back and he will clean it up. And then when Eileen comes home, everything will be clean. Well, that is just what he did. Night after night, Jamie and Patrick and Michael and Seamus all had a grand old time. And every night the Pooka came in and set things to right. And now it was the end of the week, and Jamie was kind of curious about this Pooka, and so he decided to stay up and have a chat with him. At first he was a little bit scared, but not really. He took a deep breath and a swallow of cider, and he spoke up. Now, sir, I'm not taking a liberty. Might I be knowing who you are and why you are so kind to come here and clean up after my friends and me? Well, the Pooka says, I'll tell you, and you're welcome to it. A long time ago, I was the laziest servant there was. And I didn't have clothed or fed. I didn't have work. And my time came and for the other world, and for punishment, because I had been so lazy, I was given my lazy ways to a high place each night to labor. And as I was wandering by the other night, I looked in the window and I saw your poor cottage. What a mess. And I knew, well, you know, at least I'd be out of the cold as long as I'm in that little cottage working. So I did. I went in your cottage and I started to work, and it felt so good. But oh, it is right cold, that wind out there. Well, Jamie thought about this and thought, well, I could probably help this poor Pooka. And so the next night, after his friends had left, Jamie waited for the Pooka to come because Eileen was going to come home in the morning. Oh, and he knew the Pooka would do an excellent job of cleaning up. And so Jamie got this old coat out of the trunk, and he was going to give that to the Pooka to say thank you. You know, you do that, don't you? Somebody does something nice for you. As soon as the Pooka came in, Jamie showed him the coat. He helped him into it and buttoned it up. The Pooka went to the mirror. He was the most pleased at what he saw. He's got a lot of teeth, doesn't he? Well, let's see what happens on this next part. I am much obliged to you, Jamie O'Rourke. You have made me so happy, said the Pooka. Now I'll be saying good night to you. And the Pooka turned to go. Oh, wait, Jamie cried out. You're leaving too soon. What about the washing up and the sweeping? Oh, the Pooka said, now it's your turn. My punishment was only to last until some kind creature like yourself did something good for me and rewarded me. So goodbye and see you no more. What? And right then, guess what happens? The Pooka leaves and in walks Eileen. There she is standing at the door. Oh, Jamie O'Rourke, what do you have to say for yourself? But Jamie said nothing. He was too busy thinking he shouldn't have been in such a hurry to reward that ungrateful Pooka. But really, he should reward him, shouldn't we? And we should always say thank you to our friends when they help us out. But be careful if it's a Pooka, okay?
And that's written by...
Oh, that is Tommy DePaulo.
Oh, yeah.
Tommy DePaulo. I believe he wrote it. Let's make sure. I know he does the illustrations because I love his illustrations. He said he wrote this story for two Irish buddies, John Sullivan and Kim O'Sutherland. And let's turn this page back. Yes, sirree. It was written, the story and the illustrations were all done by Tommy DePaulo, who is a wonderful, wonderful author. Wonderful.